All hot paper craft. This is the finished model of the truck. Hello, let's look at how to do the truck. The truck is slightly different from other cars, and so actually we will start with the cabin, yeah, and the cabin is still the part which is the most similar to the cars. So once again we take the cursor in the middle and we add a cube, and now we should move this cube to the corner again, next to the corner under the windscreen. So here, corner under the windscreen, yeah, put the cursor here, then switch to cursor switch to cursor alignment, move it down, move it back here. So then the same thing for the top view. Move over, move up to the corner, and put this thing in the corner and scale down to the side. So this is the main part. Okay, we don't have any back or any front in this case. Okay, so we go directly to the cabin, and the cabin, we have two ways of doing the cabin. So, well, the most common way to which we do on most of the other cars, which we hardly need here, is to extrude. Yeah, so we go to the edit mode, and here of course we have vertices. We can select vertices, we can select edges, and we can select surfaces. And then we can use the extrude tool here. This is the extrude tool. So with the extrude tool, we extrude out. And it's important to use the plus here, because then it will extrude out straight. If you don't, then it extrudes out somewhere. Yeah. Okay. So you extrude out straight. And also, if you want to change the position, you cannot keep using the extrude tool, or you just keep making new extrusions. Instead, if you don't get it to the right position, then you just switch to the move tool, and then you can use the move tool to correct it. Or another thing you should avoid is if you pull out and then you accidentally click something and then you draw something back. Okay, be very careful. Be very aware of when you are clicking. Okay, so then you go to the side view and you pull this up. Yeah, and then you go to the top view and you make it to X-ray. And here you can see that actually the top view is not correct. Yeah, so you need to switch to the front view. And here you see that the front view is not aligned properly. So maybe this front view, maybe I need to switch this, adjust this front view a little bit. So I will move this front view a little bit over. Okay, so the size here totally doesn't match. Wait a moment. So maybe it's up to you whether you want to correct it. But actually it looks correct. It's really interesting. So maybe this my front view is not correct. Let me check. Okay, that's because that's because this view aligns not with the bottom, it aligns with the box. So actually it should be much smaller. So let me quickly make this a little bit smaller. Of course, you need to scale proportionally, so you need to see the circle. Maybe, let me see. Okay, now it's too small. Make it a little bit bigger again. Okay, I think this will do. Then move it again back into position. And now I can see that this is pretty much the same, right? And to adjust now the top of the cabin, I can go to edit mode. I select this surface, of course. Yeah. And then, yeah, I should keep it in X-ray mode. And then I can scale it to the middle. But in order to scale it to the middle, you see now it's the cursor. Okay, if I move the cursor maybe here. Well, move the cursor maybe here. And so if I use the cursor, yeah, to scale, then it does not scale symmetrically. Yeah, even if I move it to the middle, it may not be really symmetrically. So that's why it's better to switch this, the alignment to center. Then it will be really in the center. Okay. Then I look at the top view once again, and now I can scale. Yeah, and I don't need the top view because I need the front view. So now I need to scale this to this width. Okay. And as you can see, the position is also not 100% correct. But from this, that's because the position, but for the side view is correct. So then I can select this, and I can move this a little bit over to create this angle. Okay, so this is one way to do the cabin. Another way to do the cabin is, I'm going back, and yeah, this is already pulled out. So I need to edit this. I will just dissolve these surfaces. Okay, so you don't have to. So here I can dissolve the surfaces to go back to the original one. Okay, so maybe I will still make sure that this is now really aligned properly. Yeah, so move that up, but it seems pretty correct. Okay, so never mind. So I will go to here, and the other option to build a cabin is actually to use the Inset Faces tool. So I select this surface, and I use the faces inset faces tool. And the problem here is that I can't see the width very well. So I can just I just have to guess. Okay, so I will move it. I will inset it a little bit, yeah, and then move this over to the edge. And this the disadvantage of this one is that you cannot be sure like that it's really, you cannot be sure that it's really aligned. So actually you should move it up first, and then you can move it over to be like this, and then you move it up a bit more to get the cabin in place. The angle here in the front, let me check the angle in the front. So the angle in the front is still a bit too big, so I will adjust this one by selecting the edge here, moving the edge a little bit back. Now switch to the front, and as you can see, the cabin here is too high. Maybe this is really the, this seems to really be the 3 view, which is not correct here. Let me see. Yeah, you can see, okay, so the 3 view in the front view is different. The height in the front view is different. It doesn't matter, just go by the side view in this case. Okay, so now you have the main cabin, and you can go again to edit mode, yeah, and yeah, switch to the normal view. And then the next thing you should do is to create this part here in the front which comes out, and for that you need to use the knife tool. So for the knife tool, you have the knife tool here, this is the knife tool, and for the knife tool you can click, and if something is wrong, so you select the knife tool, so and then you can click, and every time you click you make a corner, yeah, and when you hit enter, then this is accepted, and it will, in this case, it will automatically to the edge. And then you can do, you have a new edge, and you can do something with that edge. Okay, so I could pull this out like this, but you know that doesn't make any sense. So this is not the edge which I want, so I can also get rid of it by using the right mouse click and use dissolve edges. I wouldn't want to use delete edges because then it deletes the entire surface. So I go right mouse click, dissolve edges, and I can dissolve it. Okay, so in order to get this line in the correct position, so once again, I take the knife tool, I click on the edge, then I have it like this. And now I can hold a key for Y, Z, or X axis to go along that axis to make sure that it's completely horizontal, right? So I can hold the Y button and then move over to the other side, and I click, and then I hit enter, and then this is accepted. So now I can choose this surf, and maybe I need to check if this position is really good. Yeah, it seems quite okay. Then I can select this surface. Well, I need to select this surface, and then I can extrude this out to create this forward part. And then actually I could also even delete these, not delete, dissolve these edges here, because it's perfectly straight. Okay. They may not show up if you export out the model in the end. We will wait to the end to do the wheels. Okay, so next thing would be the main body here. Yeah, so the main well, actually it would probably better to start with the lower part here, this lower part. Okay, so this lower part, we go back to the object mode and we select, we add a cube once again. We go to the top, and now this should be narrow. Okay, so we move this over here, and it can overlap a little bit with the cabin. That's fine, because it will be one part later anyway. So I move this over here, and then I put the cursor in the corner once again, and then I scale it to, I need to align by cursor, of course. I move this a little bit up, yeah, and then I can move it back to all the way here, yeah, okay. So, and then I go to the side view. Actually, we could have done the side view first. And for the side view, it doesn't really matter if you do it like this. Actually, it maybe can be a little bit shorter here, yeah? It should be a little bit shorter. Okay, then you can scale it to the right size. So actually, it doesn't really make a difference if you have it like longer like this, or if you make it shorter. Yeah, I just feel it's correct to make it shorter. Yeah. So I move this down here, and then this is like the length of the truck. Yeah, where and then where the platform is on. Now I can add another object, another cube, to create the box on the big box, yeah, the big carriage box, and move it. And again, maybe I switch to X-ray to see better. Move it to here. Now, of course, I need to align my cursor in the bottom. I will scale up to here and then scale over to all the way back. Okay, adjust the width from the top, of course, also. Move a little bit down. Put the cursor in this corner. Scale down to the width. Okay. Then I actually need another box, which is the lower part here. We don't see it in the front, we see it only in the side view. This lower part here, which is a box going across which, where you have the lights and the register plate. Okay. So for that I can easily duplicate the main box, and I can right click on it, then duplicate objects, then click and then don't move or it's wasted. Okay, you don't want to move or it's wasted. So then you hit escape. Once again, right mouse click, duplicate objects, and now without moving the mouse, click again, then you have it in the same position. So now you can move it along the axis whoops, not this axis. Now you can move it along the axis to make sure it's still in the same position. Okay, and now you move it to here and down to this corner, and make sure that it's just about overlaps with the long box. Now I make this shorter. And shorter in this direction as well. Okay, so this is that. Then here's a little space between the box and the cabin. That's fine. Okay, so next thing I will save. Yeah, of course, I'll save. And then the next thing I need to do is the wheels and the hole for the wheels, which is called a fender. Okay, here I can hide the cabin and hide also all the other parts. Okay, hide all the other parts to make the fender here, which is where the wheel is put in. We need to create this kind of rounded cube. Okay, so we add a cube, and yeah, it comes in over here, and we move this over to here, and then we can switch to X-ray mode, side view, then we make sure that this is like aligned with this is aligned with the edges. Yeah. Now we can put the cursor in the top left corner and scale this cube to the right size. Actually, it's not a perfect cube, obviously. Doesn't really matter because the lower edge, we don't need it. Okay, then we go to edit mode. And the tool we are going to use is the bevel tool. This is the bevel tool. And what it does this. And then with adjust last operation, you can actually make the corners round. Making the corner round like this in 3 directions doesn't make sense because as a paper model you can't build it. But in our case we only need these 2 corners, okay? And then we look to the front view, and it can be a little bit tough to get it in the right roundness, okay? So we pull it out to somewhere. So if you pull it to here where the corner ends, where the corner seems to end, and then you bevel, then you make it round, yeah? So you end up having this too big, you see that? Okay, so go back, and once again, so it needs to be a little bit more because the last corners here will still be straight. So go a little bit more to the middle, somewhere around here, where the curve is definitely finished, okay? And then make it round. You see this is pretty perfect. Maybe I can still make it a little bit more, a little bit smaller. Okay. You see, so this is actually pretty perfect. Okay, so now I will bring back my cabin. And I will look to the front. And now you have to look at these wheels here, okay? If you look at these wheels, there are 4 wheels. But on the front, the truck only has 2 wheels. Maybe I will make this cabin a little bit wider to match with the image better. Okay, so now this fender needs to go in to the position of 1 wheel. Okay, then I click and duplicate it. Right click and duplicate. Again, keep it in the same position. Hold here, move over to the other side, and keep it in this position again, right? Okay, so make sure it's aligned correctly. And also look to the front and see if this is the same. It helps to save now and save as a new file, because you will use the bool tool. And then if something goes wrong, you still have the original cabin and don't have to rebuild it. Yes, it didn't take long to build it in the first place, but this is a good habit to keep, to always keep different versions of your model in case something goes wrong and you have to go back to another version. So we can see that this distance here is pretty much the same, okay? So now we can go ahead with the bool tool. And for the bool tool, it's important that you choose the objects in the right order. If you choose the cabin first and then choose the thing that you want to cut out, and then you use it, what will happen is that the cabin will be gone and the cutout part will remain. So that's why you need to select the part you will cut out first and then the cabin. Then you go to Boolean and difference, cut it out. So now you have this hole here. You do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so you have the 2 holes. Then you hide the cabin once again. Now you need to create the wheels. Okay? And to have the wheels, you need, of course, a cylinder. And for the cylinder, when you add the cylinder, you just click. And then the next thing you should do, don't do anything else. The next thing after you click, you see now it says here add cylinder. If you do anything else, this will go away. So you cannot do anything else. At once you should go here and set this 32 up, because this controls the number of surfaces on the cylinder. Okay? And in order to look round enough, it should be 80 to 90. Now we have that. Now we can rotate around the x-axis here. Yeah? Go to the side view and now move the wheel so the upper part aligns with the upper part here on the view. on the side view. Now we can switch to X-ray view to see better. We put the cursor here in the top. Then we can scale, and this time, of course, we need to scale proportionally, so we use the white lines to scale. And I forgot to switch the alignment to cursor. So go along the white line, scale to the right size, okay? Then, of course, go to the front view, move over, and here we can actually now go to the bottom view. For that, we need to turn off the image in the bottom. Here, the image in the bottom, okay? So then we turn on the cabin, and we look at the bottom view, okay? Turn off X-ray. So now we can see if this wheel is properly aligned here, yeah, okay? Then we can click here, click the cursor here on the edge. We scale down from there to match the width of the cabin with the wheel. Okay. Then we can move to the bottom view once again. Then we duplicate this object and we move it to the other side. And so we have the cabin with the two wheels. And now we need to have the wheels in the back. And the wheels in the back are, of course, more, right? So again, I will duplicate this. And they are moved. Duplicate, click, move to the back. For now, I will hide the other two wheels. Wait. So I will hide the other wheels and only show this wheel. So I go to the front view, and now I need to adjust the width of this, of course, to... I could also just, duplicate it again and have two wheels. But, yeah, for the model, it's actually easier to make those two wheels as one wheel. For the sake of simplification. So we just make this wheel wider. Okay. And then we, of course, duplicate this one. We can turn on the bottom view, bottom image again. So duplicate objects and move them to the opposite side. And what we don't have them in the right position yet. So we select both, move them over here, move this a little bit outward, move this a little bit outward. Okay, so that's, so we have the two wheels, we have the box in the back, we have everything that we need, but we still need to have the fenders here on the back. And actually, usually the truck here has rails, so nothing goes under them. We can do them in 2D later, okay? We don't need to do them here. But the fenders, it makes sense to do them here so we can see the right positions for them. And we switch to the side view, we switch to X-ray. Okay, then we have these two. And later in the model, we will just make two flat surfaces. We will just fold two flat surfaces together and glue them on the corner here. But here in the 3D model, what we do is of course, we work with the cube again. Okay, so we add a cube. And we make this cube as flat as possible. Yeah. And the advantage of why we have this, because then we can mark the positions later here on the screen. Actually, the size here, it doesn't really matter. It should be bigger than this. It should be bigger than this edge. Yeah. It should be bigger than this edge. So we move this to, can't see so well, move it to here. Okay, so it should disappear into the middle one. Okay, so that's enough. So now again, X-ray view, and now we move this over to this position here and move it up. So the bottom position is on this corner. Okay, now we take the cursor and then we rotate around the cursor, rotate it into position. Haha. Okay, switch to here and move it again a little bit inside so it disappears. This is the wrong object. Move it a little bit inside so it disappears in the box. Okay, now we can duplicate this, and move it over to the opposite side. Then we need to mirror it. So again, we right mouse click, duplicate the objects, no, right mouse click, and then here we have mirror, and we need to mirror by the x-axis. Okay, now it moved over here. That's because it was mirrored around the cursor. Doesn't matter, I move it over back again over here, and in order to see better, actually see good enough, so here I have it like this, and I put it in the position here. So now I have those two fenders, and of course I need them on the opposite side as well. I select both of them, yeah, can't see through. Turn off the image, maybe. Turn off the image. Okay, so did I duplicate them already? Let me see. Oh no, not yet. Okay, so duplicate them. Duplicate objects, click, and move them over to the opposite side. And here also put them in the right position so that they don't stick out of that box. Okay. Okay, so now I have the two fenders. Okay, save. And now to the rear view mirrors. So the rear view mirrors on the truck are always like this very thin thing. Okay, so actually the easiest way to deal with them would be to make them as flat surfaces again. So in that case we have, and why do we need to have them as flat surfaces? Because we need to see how this angle is. Okay, and then later we can cut them out. We can, from this flat piece we just cut out the right position. Okay, so once again we add a cube. We add a cube, and then we make this cube once again as flat as possible. Okay, then we move this to over here. We move it to the right position. Look at the side view. Need to turn on the image again. Move all the way up to here. Then move up to the right position here. Yeah. Then. Okay, you see this is not aligned. This is because it's the wrong line. So here, this should be up to here. Okay, let me see. How is it look like from front? It's still too much up. So here this review is not correct. I'm sorry. So here, but now you can look at this. Maybe just use the front view. Okay, go down more. So all the way up to here. Now you can make it shorter. Maybe move a little bit over here to make sure it's still well within the cabin. Put the cursor in the corner. Now scale to this height, and then scale over to here. Yeah. So this would actually be enough. This would actually be enough, and then you can you will make it flat anyway. Then you can do that in the 2D editing. Okay, so then the next thing you would do is to move this over to the opposite side. And the front view. So yeah, and then what you should do next, or then another thing that you should do, that you should select everything except the wheels. Everything except the wheels. So don't forget anything. Here, the rear mirrors, the fenders on this side. Okay, you select all of that, and then you will use the bool tool to turn this into one. Oh yeah, I forgot the box. So to turn this into one object in one outer shape. And here obviously there's a second box inside. I just see. So I can delete that. Okay. So now I have this, right? And then I'm finished, and I can continue with defining the parts, painting, and making and flattening out. But maybe I want, if you are curious, how can you do the mirror a little bit more detailed in 3D? So that what we actually, I would suggest to hide everything else. Or yeah, this is probably enough to hide. Wait, let me see. The cylinders are they are the wheels, and then these cubes are the fenders. Okay, so I can take this and I can move this over to here. Then I duplicate it. Actually, I don't really need to duplicate it, but yeah, just as well. So then I will move this, go to the wireframe view. I will move this to here. Then use the center alignment and scale it down to this size. Yeah. And then scale it wider along this rise. Okay. So I will end up with something like this. Okay. And maybe the position here is not correct yet. We can still adjust it. So this still needs to go here so that these edges are all the same. Okay, now I duplicate this once again. And I move this to the outer edge of this thing. Maybe switch to wireframe mode. So, or to, to X-ray mode. So I can see the size here. Put this in the middle here. And now scale it to the size of this thing. Maybe you need to move a little bit up. And now scale along, scale by the cursor, of course. Scale, and there I got the wrong part. So scale along this, like this, okay. And then now it gets a little bit tricky. So now I have to find these three corners. Okay, I go to edit mode. And now I select actually it's not so thick. It's not so thick. So I select these four corners. Okay, now which tool do I use? Yes, you guessed right. I will use the bevel tool, which is already chosen. So I will drag the corners here, and you see what happens. This is troublesome because now this is like this. Okay, so this is because we scaled the square. Okay. Yeah, but anyway, so then we can make them round. Okay, and then if we want to adjust, we still need to adjust them. We can put the cursor in here. And then, yeah, so this is really tricky. Now we need to switch to the local view. Switch to the local view. Put our cursor here in the top. Yeah, it's already in the right position. Align to cursor. But we need to select only these things. And this, in this case, this is where this select circle tool comes in handy. So I will select those surfaces. I will select those surfaces here and those surfaces here. And then, yeah, not this one. I can deselect with this one. So I will select here. Then I can scale this to be more round like I want. Then I repeat the same thing in the bottom. Yeah, use the select tool to select these surfaces and make a new selection. Select them, yeah, and select them. Switch the front, switch the front view. Put the cursor in the bottom and scale them down to be more round curve. Now I can exit the local view. Okay, so the local view is where I can see only that part which I'm working on. Okay, so now that I have these two, I can, okay, so I have two options. I can first use this to pull out this hole. Okay, so now I have the frame, and now there are two things I can do. Either I can keep it here and bool these two together. But the problem in that case may be that this surface, actually the surface should be aligned properly. Well, let's have a try. So if we use the two of them, so we make a union, and now we switch to here, and you see it's creating the, maybe it's not going to, it's not working very well. Let me see. So yeah, it's not working very well. I don't recommend it. Okay, so then you go back where you have them as separate objects, and you just move this a little bit to the back, and then later you're going to have to export this out separately. So actually, after all, to just have that flat part, to just have that simple cube is actually works better for exporting out a model and then doing the actual shape of the mirror into de-editing. Okay, but now I have it already like this. Then I will choose these two, duplicate, and move them over to the other side. I need to delete this, of course. Then select the two of them, mirror them. Yeah, and they get moved over here because of the cursor. We put the cursor somewhere in the middle. Now go here to the front view. Now I can move this in so that it's in the right position, and need to make sure that, you know, my two mirrors are in the same position. Then I can hide my images because my truck is finished. Once again, and save, and then I can go ahead and do the, of course you can also make these edges round with the bevel tool, yeah, but that gets really sophisticated and we don't really need to do that here. Okay, thank you for watching.